I want his back. I want his number. I want to follow him.
I was literally right
We
here.
all saw it. He just grabbed me.
That's not an accident.
He just grabbed me.
Don't touch us.
And he stopped the phone. Everybody.
One of the worst things. More than once now. This is not an accident. I didn't see you push any of the Proud Boys.
You threw me on the ground. Hey, asshole, where'd you go?
How's that an
Where are you hiding? Where are you going? Where are you hiding?
Get out. Get
Why
out
are you
behind the
hiding?
police officers, please. Get out from the.
Get out behind the police. You're not trying.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Elad, and today I'm reporting to you from Washington, D.C. at the Demand Free Speech rally. Let's go talk to some people, see what's going on. The conservatives here are saying
Why building movements, not walls. We don't have, sustained movements that really bring people together, give people a sense of community. A lot of people are feeling lost, and I think that's where a lot of violence comes from.
a lot of these conservatives are complaining that they're getting banned off a lot of these platforms without good warrant or without good reason. Do you think they should be removed off these platforms?
I have no idea what they're saying or if that's true or not, so I don't have an opinion.
Well, like people like Alex Jones, if you're familiar with, he's one of the big names. He's been banned off a lot of platforms. People like Laura Loomer, Gavin
He's
McInnes.
a threatening individual. He actually threatens, I think, stability, peace. I think he puts really bad, violent ideas into people's heads. He's too much of a probably gutless guy to actually implement the stuff that he would like to, but he's got people he pushes to do things
So
like
you think
that.
he's bannable? We could get, because now we need to run down the
If
list.
he is directly linked to the dude who showed up in D.C. with a gun wanting to shoot up the Comet Pizzeria, yeah.
I can tell you, he's not directly linked. So
I'm
and then
not
could we
sure.
also say that about the big media companies that might encourage people and might radicalize people?
I think the way that we've militarized our society, the way that the media, mainstream media, pushes militarism and war, and the way they're just as complicit as the gaming industry for creating all the violence that, kids watch.
You think the gaming industry is responsible for a lot of the violence that we're seeing nowadays?
What I mean by gaming are those virtual games where you kill people.
Yeah, like Counter-Strike, like
The ones
first-person
who have-
shooter types.
The ones who have contracts with the Defense Department.
Interesting. Very
Quote-unquote Defense Department.
I know a lot of people slander a lot of the hosts here as white supremacists, Nazis. Do you think of them as such?
I don't know who the hosts are, but I have to disclose that I came down here with some assumptions.
Yeah. And what were those
And
assumptions, just so we're working off the same basis?
That people who believe in white supremacy, people who believe that this country belongs to them, that there's some sort of, God-given exceptional right
So you
to
think
this
you think these
nation.
people are white supremacists?
I don't know. I'm going to go sit and listen.
Okay, absolutely. Just to finish up, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
I do believe that this country was founded on genocide and the riches that came from it were really produced by enslaved peoples, and that's probably the most exceptional thing about our nation, that wealth lives on today, and that we have gone through transitions and transformations from that time, but we still have a lot of work to do. And these people, I think, need to also understand that history, internalize it, process it, and make it a part of our legacy, because it is. And we're not going to be able to escape it. So finding another boogeyman called the immigrant is not.
Well, this
gonna
is
work.
Demand Free Speech, right? So they're not boogeyman.
Well, the guy was just talking about immigrants and immigration.
Yeah.
So they, that's just another person to get angry at who's weaker than they.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
I don't know why, this guy's nuts, right? This guy's.
I was just chilling in the AC.
You have a little bit, but you're not balls right now, bro. There you go. No, make yourself wet, so we're both wet in the interviews, and I don't look too stupid. Okay. All right. So we're out here today in Washington, D.C. We're coming off the heels of the rally for free speech, Demand Free Speech rally, and then we also had counter demonstrators on the other side of it. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you're out here and what you want to see changed?
What I want to see social media tech companies be more freedom of speech. They obviously are anti-freedom of speech, just like all the left-wing crazy loons, Antifa on that side. It seems like a lot of times Antifa gets a free pass when it comes to threats, especially
or violence.
They kind of get a free pass all the time. Where conservatives, it's like we're skating on thin ice, where anything we say will get us taken off the internet.
Yeah. I know there's some conflict going on in conservative circles because, in general, conservatives want to see less regulation and less government. But when it comes to the issue of free speech on these bigger platforms, we want to see more government and more regulation. As somebody who's extremely distrustful of the government, why is that the right answer? And why will the government be able to look over these people better than, Mark Zuckerberg may be able to?
I'm very in the middle when it comes to regulation or not regulations. I believe there are good arguments for either or, but also since my business is primarily on social media, I have a more in-depth understanding and knowledge on how these social media companies work, especially when it comes to algorithms, revenue.
Do you think conservatives are being stifled on YouTube and things like that?
They're 100% being stifled, but also we need to understand all the factors that contribute into that algorithm cycle. One main factor that contributes into it is obviously one, the bias of the people behind the keyboards that are making these decisions, and two, advertisers. When advertisers say we don't want to advertise on conservative content anymore, the CPM of that particular content now goes down and
affects the whole community.
Affects the community. And now YouTube, they're going to have their own protected class that has premium ad supplies, and they're going to get algorithm boosts because YouTube wants to make their money back. So that is another factor that goes into contributing to it. That's why I believe if you put heavy regulations on it, it could affect their business. I am part of the few people who actually understand that.
Following up on that point, I know a lot of conservatives and people on the right or quote-unquote far right have been censored, but it's also happened to somebody on the left, namely Louis Farrakhan. Do you want to see all of these guys unbanned, or is there any line we should draw where we should be banning people? I'm expecting you to say violence, but beyond that, beyond calling for direct violence, where should we really draw the line with this free speech stuff? And do we want to also see these far leftists be unbanned? For the record, I do. I want to see all these guys be unbanned.
Yeah, I think everybody should be unbanned. Obviously, if they do something that would call for an act of violence, they should be banned.
Direct call for violence.
Yeah, direct call for violence should be banned, because the only way to shut down bad ideas, the only way to truly shut down bad ideas, is to have them on display, in full display, and to debate it and prove it wrong. The left can't disprove our side of the aisle. That's why they want to shut us down. And the best thing that they can do, that they believe they can do, is to just shut us down.
Any chance I get an interview, sir? No? Be cognizant of bad. We're probably fine. That's a good shot. This guy knows how to work the camera. Our streets!
Wall Street!
Our streets!
Wall Street!
Our streets!
Wall Street!
That was mine. That was mine. Did you hear that? I let that one. That one. We're out here today in Washington, D.C. Behind you, we have a demand free speech rally, and then we have counter demonstrations happening next to me. You're holding a sign about white supremacy. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you're out here and what it means for you to be out here?
Sure. I'm out here to protest the white supremacy movement, and these people are using free speech as a cover for their right-wing activities, and actually they're the ones who want to stamp out free speech and freedom of access and freedom of vote.
Are you familiar with a lot of the people on the other side, like the bigger names?
Yeah, I've heard of them, and I was here last year protesting.
Can I run down a list and you could tell me if you think they're a white supremacist or not? Because I'm scared to conflate the two.
No, I'd rather not. No, I just know what this rally's about. It's disguised as freedom of speech, and it's really freedom to hate.
Yeah. Some of the people are worried that conservative voices are getting censored. Do you think any of that is going on?
Absolutely not. I think Trump has the stage. He has his lies go out. They're not challenged enough. I guess people are getting used to being lied to. And like he says, he could shoot somebody at 52nd Street, and these people probably rush to his defense.
But does that mean he's a white supremacist, or just kind of has that cult of personality behind him?
He has a cult of really sickening, sycophantic, fascist worship behind him.
Yeah. Do you view as most of these organizers and people who showed up to this event as white supremacists?
Well, I think there are a lot of people over there who want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think you have far less people there who are actually serious about this right-wing extremism.
Yeah. Because I was talking to some people there, I was asking them specifically, you guys get called Nazis, you get called white supremacy, would you condemn it? They said they'd condemn it. I spoke to Proud Boys who said they'd condemn it. Do you buy that?
Not really.
Absolutely.
No.
So
Yeah.
So I also
don't buy it.
Yeah. I also know there's increasing tensions, and we're seeing a lot of political violence on both sides. Whether
Both
it be,
sides?
I think so. I mean, both from
No.
So where do you think the political
No,
violence is coming from?
I mean, the political violence is coming from the right wing with their militias and their threats.
Like the Proud Boys specifically, you think are like the political, where the
Well,
most
there was
political
a
violence?
scuffle in front of the White House, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are few people who may believe in violence, but the vast majority is peaceful, and I can't say that for the other side.
Yeah, I know Antifa dubs itself as violent. Do you view them as such? Do you think they've ever initiated
They dub
violence?
themselves as violent, and they dub themselves as anti-fascist. They regard fascism as a serious problem here, and I have to tell you, that 4th of July thing was very upsetting. With all the militarism and all those people with their banners for Trump 2020, they were very intimidating, and there were many of them, and Trump invited them down there. It's a celebration of the military, which is not the way to democracy. All dictatorships come from the military.
I wanted to follow up with you on the Antifa, though, because I do recognize a lot of political violence. There's actually a journalist by the name of Andy No in Portland who actually recently got milkshakes thrown on him and then beat up. He had a brain hemorrhage, and Antifa claimed responsibility.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could pull up
can't
videos
make
and
any comment on that.
Yeah. I mean, so why do you think
I'd like to know if it's, I'd like to check out the veracity of that story,
No,
frankly.
I highly encourage you to. But I've also spoken to Antifa members who endorse violence for political means. They talk about that. And that's one of the reasons they're wearing the masks. Like, why do you think these guys are wearing masks?
Do not believe that, okay?
Yeah.
And that's why, but we have Quakers down here. He just got special training this morning. So they're coming down here, keep the peace.
So assuming you don't support Trump, who do you want to see take him out in 2020?
Taken out? Now, that's kind of
No, like, defeat him in the 2020 election.
I want to see Bernie Sanders or people like him. I'm tired of these wishy-washy Democrats that won't do their job, like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
I consider her a traitor to the democracy.
Would you support a mainstream candidate like Joe Biden?
Absolutely not. Big phony Republican. He's a big sellout to the corporate CEOs who get like $40 billion a year. And
A blue Trump, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good. He's actually, as a friend of mine said, he's Hillary Clinton in drag.
Yeah. Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
Absolutely not.
So who did you vote for in 2016?
I voted for Jill Stein, Green Party. I want to vote for people who are real, not fakes.
Absolutely. In conclusion, was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, that's it.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, you have a magic wand?
Hey, excuse me. I'm making a video on the rally. Is there any chance I could ask you some questions? No? All right. Thank you. So we're out here today for the Demand Free Speech rally. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you're out here and what it means for you to be out here?
Well, I'm speaking today, so what it means to me is I was also banned from social media when I ran for office. I'm also the founder of Gays for Trump. So, they call me a hater, which is completely fake and false.
Did they give you a specific reason for banning you?
No, they don't.
Was it across the was it on all platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook, I was banned shortly before the election. Then I had another account. They didn't mess with it, but they still limited us. Twitter, they started messing with me at election, and only right before my birthday, they canceled everything. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I put out things that are like on InfoWars and things like that out there, and they don't like that.
Have you said anything a little bit outlandish that you think could possibly warrant a ban, or what do you think is allowed to be posted on these platforms? Should there be any limitations?
Well, when it comes to the platforms, technically they've become more publisher, because now they basically decide and choose what's on your wall, and that makes them a publisher. Honestly, as long as it's protected, it's free speech. They're no different than the post office, the Pony Express, telephones, Ma Bell, anything like that.
Well, aren't those public and financed by the government as opposed to these being, private? YouTube's private, Google's private, Facebook's private. So should they have the right, if they wanted to limit free speech on their platforms, that might be talking about things that they don't want to be talked about on their platforms?
Honestly, Facebook is, especially Facebook and Twitter, is funded by the government. They have subsidizing government, so they have certain things. So regardless of a business or not, so if you want to take it to the business sense, they limited my business and I didn't do anything, I could be able to sue them for that. And
so why don't you sue them then?
It's hard to get a lawyer to take a case because it's social media, news, it's still baby. It's still new. It's hard to find people that will take the case, even though it's a case.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to go that far, and it takes a lot of money.
Yeah. I also see you have a flag over here. It says "Gays for Trump." I was actually at a couple of different Pride rallies, and it seemed like none of the people there were very supportive of Trump. What does it mean for you to be a gay supporter of Trump? Have you faced pushback? Have you been to the Pride events?
Yeah, I take face problems with some of the people that have issues with me for Trump, but they need to realize that Donald Trump has been for us from the beginning. He's been from us from the 80s, just like he's been for blacks and minorities and everything, regardless of what they say. Just because he put a MAGA hat on does not mean all of a sudden he's different.
Can you name any pro-gay things that Trump has said or done?
Donald Trump, other than just the flying the flag, other than that, he just basically talked about how he's trying to get rid of HIV, period. He's already talked about recently, he recognized the LGBT citizens as their individuals and their efforts in America, which is extremely important. First Republican to ever do that.
Hey everybody, thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode. I want to pose the question back to you. What did you think about the questions I was able to ask? Let me know down in the comments. If this is your first time here, guys, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay barely informed.